numbers as you see on your screen, 99 for the BJP, 80 for the Congress party and 3 for the others. So the Congress has lost the state of Gujarat yet again, a 6th straight win for the BJP. That's how things stand. Big win for Narendra Modi, of course, the Prime Minister of India.
Two-digit win.
Yes, well, 2-digit, but I mean, it's how you look at it. 6th straight term.
Yes, but it's a 2-digit win, which the BJP will definitely introspect, even if it's not publicly accepted. They will be. Arun, tell me, will not this be part of BJP's introspection?
Part of BJP's introspection, and there's another input. We have been missing on that. In fact, they have literally, say about 2 weeks before the elections, the BJP's internal assessment was that they were losing elections and they were losing elections badly. They have literally snatched this victory from the jaws of defeat, and that has happened after a very, very long time in Gujarat with the help of RSS. The RSS got activated. If you would look at the overall, the way voting pattern is emerging, because RSS has a very strong presence in the tribal belt. The ABVP is also very strong, especially in urban areas and amongst the urban youth. So, and
are you saying that there was an internal assessment within RSS, within BJP, that they're going to lose the elections?
See, I wouldn't say about, but there was a general perception that they are losing the plot and they have lost the plot, and the RSS swung its whole machinery in Gujarat, and Vishwa Hindu Parishad and Vanvasi Kalyan Ashram, which works in tribal areas, and ABVP. So they went all out. So it's actually a lot of work went behind the scenes, and that's all the more reason for BJP to do an introspection, that they haven't won. So the very much talked about BJP's organizational machinery. So it had actually, it was finding it difficult to get over the general tide, and ultimately they had to go back to the RSS.
You're saying the BJP should introspect.
That's very interesting.
What I've been saying all day is that the Congress should look at what is not working for them. What does this loss mean for the Congress party and for Rahul Gandhi in particular? And does this election indicate the failure of the soft Hindutva of the Congress party? The Congress, remember, did not speak of the condition of minorities during this campaign. It made no reference whatsoever to the riots of the past. Party chief Rahul Gandhi kept visiting temples. What does this indicate? The question we are asking is majoritarianism here to stay. Listen in to what Asaduddin Owaisi of the AIMIM had to say earlier in the day on WION.
For me, secularism is a dirty word, and as a community we have suffered more by carrying this burden of secularism on our shoulders from last 70 years. I do not want to be a coolie of secularism. This burden of carrying secularism's dead body on my shoulder, which I have been carrying for 70 years, I think so. I don't want to carry it. Let someone else carry it, because I have been reduced to an iftar party or to a dargah oras. The issues of development are not at all concerned with me. The political empowerment, no one talks about it. So that is why I say that the politics which has been practiced by both the national parties in Gujarat especially is not good for our participative form of democracy. These Gujarat elections have once again proven the marginalization of Indian Muslims in these elections, because it is both the national party leaders, they have hopped around in mandirs. Now, where is the Muslim faces over there? Congress has given a seat less to what they have given last time. So this is very dangerous, because our democracy is a participative form of democracy. Now, if both the national parties turn it into a Majoritarian form of democracy, then this is not good for our pluralism, and this will have a long-term impact on our politics.
Richard Rosso continues to be with us from the CSIS. Richard, the trading cities like Surat, which were most affected by the GST, by most indications badly affected, voted overwhelmingly for the BJP. What does that tell you about the appetite for reform in India?
that GST, the slowdown that you've seen is a temporary thing. That overall, the processes are going to work a whole lot better once everybody gets more comfortable with the system there. And again, the fact that that the Prime Minister is willing to take such big decisions, and they're confident in him. So even if it's a temporary setback, they think that the train will right itself at some point in the not distant future. So so again, a big vote of confidence, take big steps, and that a long-term vision.
Right. The Congress also suffered on the ground due to its poor grassroots presence, and that's something that leader after leader has been pointing out here on WION and elsewhere. It lacks a new line of leaders in Gujarat. It had no recognizable face in the state. The self-goals by the senior leaders of the party impacted its chances in the state of Gujarat, especially despite prompt action by Rahul Gandhi against them. There was little effect on the voters. Another factor could have been the poor connect of the Congress party with the people of Gujarat, especially in the rural areas. There's still a strong section of the voters who still back the BJP despite being dissatisfied with certain policy decisions.
It was perhaps one of the most hard-fought elections in the recent memory. The campaigning for the throne of Gujarat threw up a number of firsts where both the national parties, the BJP and the Congress, actively wooed the majority community by playing the Hindutva card. It was the prestige of the Prime Minister which hinged on the key election in the Gujarat, and he started each day of his campaigning by a visit to the temple. So, coming back to this question, Mr. Sidhu, to start with you, it is one thing to say and understand that there is a majority consolidation. It is another thing to say in public discourse that it's acceptable that there is a majority consolidation. Has that narrative made the fact of majority consolidation acceptable in our mainstream political narrative? Has that shift happened?
Well, yes and no, and which is why the victory speech of Prime Minister Modi was very interesting. He did not actually talk about that. He talked about development and inclusiveness, which I think is the closest he comes to acknowledging, some of what is being unspoken about in this particular election. So in that sense, I think you're starting to see at least an attempt, if you like, to shift from the majoritarianism that you're talking about to, in fact, a language of inclusivism and development, because frankly the recognition is that it's not going to be possible to develop unless you have everybody on board that agenda.
Jasper, how do you see it? Is it that the BJP keeps the whole language of majoritarianism restricted to the electoral politics? Once that done, it shifts its goalposts. So, there's a different sort of a voice which emanates from the top functionaries of the government when it comes to electoral politics. And once the victory is done, it changes, whether it was Delhi, Bihar, or any other state, even Uttar Pradesh. There's a fine line. Pre-election, post-results.
Well, I think I'd probably largely agree with you, Cascade, that there's a sort of pre-watershed and post-watershed here. I can't, without dodging the question too much, I can't help but think, though, that the more you look at this, the more you realise it's not a bad result for Congress, actually, is it? I mean, it's they're a full 1/3 up from the previous number of seats. The same number again would get them to parity with the BJP. If it's true that a few weeks ago they were in dire straits in this election, I think there's a lot that Congress can take away from it. I know Palki's about to disagree with me.
Unfortunately, elections work this way. The winner takes it all.
Well, that's very true. But as we've said, this is not a T20 one-off, is it? It's a 5-test series, as we've said many times. And I think, but realistically,
and this is the 29th election that the Congress has lost under Rahul Gandhi. 29th.
Palki,
13th that the Modi Amit Shah combined has won.
Well, far be it for me to take the high ground on this one, but I think one has to be pretty careful at moments like this of crowing. Eventually, parties lose, right? And that starts somewhere. Yeah?
It will, I'm sure.
It starts somewhere.
I'm sure.
And I think so. Yes, it's binary. It's a winner takes all thing. But I genuinely think there's some reasons to be cheerful for Rahul and Congress here.
I think this is the only difference is in this election. In no elections after 2009, I think Rahul Gandhi has got any sympathy, to put it very bluntly. To put it really very bluntly. I think this is the only election in which he has got some sympathy. And sympathy is very important when it comes to Indian politics. Sorry I interrupted you.
I just want to make a couple of points. One is that what Jasper was saying, see, when you look at the number of seats, you see that Congress has done really well. But when you look at the voting percentage, the difference between Congress and BJP continues to be around at least 7%. 8%. Now, in a bipolar scenario, a difference of 8% is huge, especially in Indian context. Here the governments are formed basically with a difference of 3 to 4% kind of a swing. So BJP has not only retained its vote share, it has also increased its vote share a little bit more. Second is that I would say that what Palki was saying, there is a general perception that when we talk about the Hindu consolidation, it is mutually exclusive to the agenda of development. What Narendra Modi has done is that this government has done is that it has gelled the agenda of development with Hindu consolidation.
But
so
sorry, if you see, and I'm not making any comparison, I'm making this record very clear, I'm not making any comparisons, but if you look at the development of right in Europe, then there was a blend of identity, development and utopia.
No, I fully agree with you, but the fundamental problem is that while the rest of the intelligentsia, while most
and
of the people...
I'm not saying that Indian conservative politics is equal to the modern European right. I make that distinction, but I still ask you in terms of comparative cultural politics. That is why I'm asking you, because you're saying that both can be blended.
So both can be blended because it's a larger philosophical debate, but largely the concept of Hinduism, which BJP and the RSS has, it is basically an all-inclusive. A Muslim can be Hindu, a Christian can also be Hindu. It is not associated...
That's debatable, sir.
No, that's why. Just let me put it across. Because even the Supreme Court of India has said that Hinduism is a way of life. It is not associated with any particular way of worshipping. I don't know whether you know this or not, but RSS has coined a very interesting term for Muslims. It's called Mohammadi Hindus. And they have an organization called Muslim Rashtriya Manch, which has large number of Muslim members. And mind you, it is the BJP government which has taken up the issue of triple talaq, which is so crucial for Muslim women. So that's why I'm saying that don't look at this perspective from the Oxford dictionary.
No. I'm not looking from the perspective
I'm saying generally, not
dictionary.
about you, but
no,
generally...
that's not correct thing to say. No. That's not correct thing to say. Indian conservative, for example, Rajaji, or for example, India's former Deputy Prime Minister, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, they were referred as conservatives in the Indian context. There was a European right which existed during the World War, the First World War, before the World War. So that is why when you use the word development and identity Hinduism, I asked you, because there's a European parallel, there's a European experience, and there is a European repercussion which is felt throughout the world today, which gets represented in Germany accepting so many asylum seekers because it's the German guilt.
Absolutely. Mr. Sidhu.
Well, with a couple of caveats there, and one distinction is that almost to the party, every European government has given up on multiculturalism, right? So minorities are coming in. Yes, there are refugees coming in, but in a very particular, there is very much a sense of that they need to assimilate, that they need to become more German, they need to become more French, they need to become more British, right? Whatever that's defined, and that is something which is evolving. India doesn't have that option. It's always been multicultural, and you need,
Absolutely.
So that's a distinction. But I just want to come back to something else that was said earlier, and this is the inability of the Congress to capitalize on the absence of a BJP agenda on the rural areas. Agriculture is really hurting. That is one area where the reforms have not gone forward at all, right? And you could see, even in the victory speech, Narendra Modi makes a reference to the middle class. I don't see very many middle class in the rural areas, right? The problem is the Congress doesn't have an agenda or a plan for for rural reforms either. And that's why I think the numbers are still very low.
That's the reason why Congress lost badly, because it was a subsidy architecture. It was not a reform architecture.
There you go.
I agree with you in the agrarian sector.
Yes, we have to go to Ainar Tangen, and I want to bring to your notice, Ainar, an editorial by the Global Times, which is often called the unofficial mouthpiece of the government in China. It said China is witnessing a boom in outbound investment, with direct investment to India in 2016 reportedly many times higher than the year before. And the outlook for India's economic reforms is deeply related to a good number of Chinese companies doing business in India. What does this win for Narendra Modi and his party mean for these Chinese companies? How does China see the relationship with India in terms of economic policy?
Well, quite frankly, I mean, Modi is seen as very pro-business. He's very pro-development. The question is, as said before, and I will continue to say, how he wants to go forward. There's a tremendous amount of money that is necessary for all the kind of infrastructure that India needs. A lot of that is being answered by these Chinese companies who are very interested. Now, remember, these companies came under Modi, and they're not going to leave because he's there. So obviously, they're very, very happy. Continuity is very good. There's not a question of interfering in the internal politics or how people perceive things in India. It's just a question of how does India want to react? It's being courted by the United States on security issues, by the China in terms of trade. How does it want to create a new century for itself? What does this mean? How do you move things along? You've been talking about development. Let's put some flesh on that. I think Modi has a very grand plan for India. It involves a cashless society that will help generate the kind of revenues that the government needs to create change. I think there has to be rural reform. How that is going to be tackled, a lot will depend on what kind of infrastructure you're able to put in. So these are the questions that are there. I think China stands ready to help. And I think it's a very positive thing from China's point of view to see that government has transitioned smoothly, that it is working.
Right. Einar, thanks very much. This was a rather simplistic approach to how things are, and I want to quote from it. A loss for the BJP in Gujarat would be the biggest setback for the economic reforms initiated by the Prime Minister. He might then abandon them halfway due to a possible domino effect. This is how the world is looking at it.
Absolutely.
If Modi stays in power, if he consolidates his position in various states,
but then,
the reform agenda stays on course.
Absolutely, but there is one aspect of this administration which has not been looked into. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been very, very sensitive to one Congress attack, which was called Soot Boot Ki Sarkar. And for the very reason today, something with which Prime Minister and the administration was really keen to push, the Land Acquisition Act has not been done because the Prime Minister was labelled as anti-rural communities by Rahul Gandhi. And that's the reason why 3.5 years, no one has political will to move that. And I certainly feel that after demonetization and after GST, it will be very difficult for the government to move Land Acquisition Act.
Even these two, in a span of 6 months, many would have said was unthinkable. This government has done it, to their credit. For the Congress's newly appointed President Rahul Gandhi, the losses in Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh, of course, mean that he's lost 29 elections in a row. That's quite a daunting number considering that there are several state elections coming up next year and in the run-up to the all-important general election in 2019.
On the face of it, Rahul Gandhi appears to have started his innings as Congress president with a strong showing in Gujarat. But the fact remains that with Gujarat and Himachal Pradesh, Rahul Gandhi has lost 29 elections. He has been the de facto leader of the Congress since he became the party's vice president in 2013, and the Congress has lost a series of elections since then. The biggest blow came in the form of the general election in 2014, when Narendra Modi and the Bharatiya Janata Party decimated the Congress, reducing the party to a paltry 46 members in the parliament. One after another, the hits just kept on coming. The Congress was wiped out of Maharashtra by the BJP in 2014, suffering its worst ever performance in a state once considered a Congress stronghold. In 2016, the BJP managed to end 15 years of Congress rule in the northeastern state of Assam. The same year, the left party routed the Congress from the southern Indian state of Kerala. Earlier this year, the Congress failed to withstand the onslaught of the Modi wave in Uttarakhand and got evicted from power in the hill state. Now another hill state of Himachal Pradesh has also slipped out of Congress's grasp.
जहाँ तक राहुल गांधी जी की बात है, वो अध्यक्ष बनने के बाद उन्होंने हिमाचल प्रदेश की सरकार को गवा दिया है और गुजरात में भी उनके पार्टी की सत्ता नहीं आ सकी।
With Rahul Gandhi now officially taking over the reins of the Congress party, there is no room to hide or shirk responsibility. While he's being credited with leading a spirited campaign in Gujarat, the numbers cannot lie. 2018 is promising to be an even more politically charged year than 2017. Elections will take place in the states of Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh and Karnataka, which is one of the few states where the Congress is still in power.
राहुल गांधी जो है उन्होंने बहुत मजबूती से चुनाव लड़ा और कांग्रेस का वोट बहुत बढ़ाया, सीटें भी बढ़ाई। एक बार में हम यहाँ पहुंचे, अगले चुनाव में फतेह कर लेंगे और लोकसभा चुनाव में भी मुझे उम्मीद है कि बहुत अच्छा रहेगा।
And then comes the big general election in 2019, which is already being touted as a Modi versus Gandhi showdown. The question is, will Rahul Gandhi be able to rise to the challenge? Bureau Report, WION.